Hey, this is Adam. In this video, we want to go through two techniques that make it really easy to find ancestors when you have nothing else to go on using just DNA. All we'll be using here is two techniques. One is grouping and the other one is clustering. And between those two, we'll be able to identify patterns in our matches that will lead us to common ancestors. So to start with, we want to go to view all DNA matches, and I'm doing this on my aunt's profile. She's just got her results through. There we go. And you can see in the kind of the top ranks, the close family, first, second, third cousins, I have placed some of these people already. They were very kind of obvious as to where they go. What we want to focus on is fourth cousins, and only fourth cousins for the time being. So to narrow that down a little bit, just go to shared DNA. We'll do a range of 70 to 20. Ooh, other way around. 20 to 70. And there we go. Now that'll be still a good sort of 200 or so matches, so quite a few people still fall into that bracket. The reason why we use 20 is because that's the cutoff for shared matches. After 20 centimorgans, Ancestry doesn't show you the shared matches of those people anymore. So you can see here at the 20 mark we get broken down into distant cousins. And the way that this works is that if you looked at a shared match from the fourth cousin side, it would show you other fourth cousin matches. If you were to look at a distant cousin and one of your mutual matches was a fourth cousin, you'd see that fourth cousin on their profile, but then you wouldn't see it the other way around because these people are so low. So we just got up to 20. You can go all the way down from 20 to 19 to 18, all the way down to 8, but it's going to have kind of different return on investment for how much time you put in. The more centimorgans you have to work with, the easier this process is. When you get down to the 8s, it's sort of 1 in 13, 14 matches, you'll get something. Before we go through them, you'll need to set up your groups. The way you do this is you go to add to group, and then there'll be an option here to create groups if you have any slots remaining. Ancestry lets you set 24 groups. They're denoted by colours. The way that I use them is the first 4 groups are for the communities. So you have your DNA puts you into certain communities, right? The countries you're from, east of England. For us, we've got Munster and the Midlands as the other two. The fourth one is just none. If you don't have one, it's good to have a bucket to put people in if they don't fall into any community you match with. The next two are whether or not they're placed in your tree. So if we look at someone like Diane Bennett, you can see she's got this symbol here, and that means that she exists in our tree. And I can just click on that and be taken to her entry within our tree there. Yep, so it's communities, whether or not they're placed. The next two we have are the lines, so which lines of the family tree they appear in. The first two that I do is the unknown line, so we haven't placed them, we don't know where they live, so they go in there for now until we can find a home for them. And sorting, which is the group that we use for this clustering process. After that, it's just the lines of your family tree. I don't know the first two of ours, but after that, it's just the kind of the last 2 entries in your family tree, surnames. So you can see we've got Holden, we've got Lloyd Turner, Coates, Stanier, Kettle, Plimlow, and those correspond with your last bracket on the family tree and pedigree view. So the only group that we'll be using for this process is the sorting one, and it's a pretty easy process. So what we'll do is we just pick the first unregistered one we see, called Dornsby. I know nothing about them. We've matched at sort of a third cousin level. Hopefully we'll have some shared matches. Nope, okay, terrible example. Well, since we're on him, or her, him, we'll put him into the relevant groups. So we don't have any communities popping up. So community none, I can't place you, and I don't know what line you're going in. And that's how I would categorize this one person. Hopefully we'll get a better example on the second one. Okay, so Patrick Gerbig is the next one. No tree, so it's not going to be extremely fortunate for us to put him into a cluster, but we should still do it. We'll see who else he matches with. Again, we've got no community here at all, but we do have some shared matches, quite a few of them. Yeah, there really is a lot here. So to start with, I'm going to categorize him. Again, he's not a member of any community. I can't place him. I don't know what line he's in. I'm also going to mark him in sorting. Really, all we want to do here is just put them in this this category here, number 8, the sorting category. That's going to allow us to create a group of all of these users that cluster together genetically. So it's really, really simple. We don't even need to go into them. We just click here, go on sorting, add to group, sorting, add to group, sorting, and so on and so forth. Sorting. Right, now that that's done, we now want to open them all up into new tabs of their own. For me, that's just a middle mouse click, or you can right click on them. So yeah, so let's get them all opened up. Okay, so now we're just going to go through all of their shared matches. So obviously we can see the first few groups match with this Dale Ingersoll, but he's also got a few that weren't matches with the previous guy. Quite a few more actually from the looks of things. So again, we just do the same sort of thing. We add them to sorting, sorting, sorting. And this implies that all of these people will stem from one set of common ancestors. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to just open all of these up in new tabs. If you look at the top of the screen, there's a lot of tabs. And if your computer's anything like mine, it gets a little bit slow when you have so many open, but they will eventually load in. So now we can see that his are all marked, so we can close that tab. Go to windshields, his are all marked. Oh, got one more there. So I'll mark you as sorting and open you. Yours are all marked, so we close you. Got two more there, so we'll mark them. Sorting, and we'll also open them so we can check them. So you're going to get crossover, you're going to get duplicates. It doesn't matter, you can't mark the same person twice with the same group. So if you do overlap with yourself a little bit, there's no real problem. Okay, so I think I can say with some confidence that we're reaching the end for this class. Oh no, one more. There's always one. Sorting, open you up. No, he's bringing no one new to the table there. Okay, so we're sort of reaching the end now, where these people have all being placed into a cluster, and no one's detecting any new matches that we haven't already seen at this point. You can see they're all in the sorting category. Oh, this one's got loads. Okay, so we're done. So now we'll go back to the DNA list, and we'll go to groups, and we're going to select sorting. We can see there's a 34, so we've got 34 people in one cluster. It's quite big. There we go. So now what we want to do is just categorize them. You'll see some of these people have 4 dots. So again, these just correspond to the different categories and groups that I've set. We want to make sure that everyone's got 4 dots. So I'm seeing the monster category community, coming up a lot of times during this process, and I don't think any of my other communities have come up once. So that's a fairly good indicator that this cluster will be on the Irish side of things. It could be that the people who don't have it simply is just too diluted. Maybe they moved to America. Maybe they moved to America and mixed out the Irish a little bit. Okay, so that's now done. Every entry on here has the 4 dots. You can see there all the pretty colours. So as I mentioned before, the most prevalent community for this group was definitely Ireland. You can see it where it's the 4th dot is kind of a bright yellow and it says Monster Island. In fact, we know we've got 34 people in this cluster, so if I was to mix that now with Monster Island, we can see quite a few people who fall into both categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So just under half of this cluster are Irish, which is a dead giveaway. Okay, so we go back. That's it for the stage 1 of this. So now what we'll do is we need to copy this information in to a spreadsheet because we need to move the sorting group back into a kind of having 0 people in it, so we can use it for the next cluster in the list. So I've set up a spreadsheet in advance, and basically each cluster represents 1 color. We put all the information in here so that we don't have to necessarily keep it in Ancestry. These brackets on the right hand side are for once we've placed them. It makes it very, very easy. Once you find just one person you match, you get a through line with them, you place them in your tree, it means that that person is your link for that whole cluster, and you just need to start finding ways of fitting that cluster into the same line. So again, we just go through these one at a time. Okay, so it doesn't have a tree, it doesn't have a community, so let's copy that. So we'll just take his name. And we'll take his profile link. I'll take the number of centimorgans, which was 51. No communities. No tree. It's a terrible first example. We can't replicate him, nor can we place him, because he doesn't have any starting information. And that's it for Patrick. So knowing that I've got 32 people to place, I'm just going to expand this cluster a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So now Patrick's been done, so we can actually take him out of this group. His information is stored. So the group will get smaller as we enter everything in. Okay, so again, this guy's name is Dale Ingersoll. My second highest match. Grab his profile link, so copy link address. 51 centimorgans as well. No community. This guy does have a tree, so this is a public link tree. So I'll mark that here as public linked. And I want to right click on the link and just go to copy link address for the actual number of people. That's the link to the tree, right? So we just copy that and I'll just link that there. Now if I ever want to visit his tree from the spreadsheet, it's just click away. Like that. Okay, so I think that was it for Dale. So again, we just take him out of that group. We'll go back. While you're doing this, obviously you're getting a sneak peek at their tree and also the name of the tree. I can see, for example, the name here, Gerbig. It's quite an unusual name. And he has a Patrick Gerbig and a Ramona Gerbig as shared matches as well. So there's something there, right? That's probably the link. If we were to trace their Gerbig line, we might find Ireland and then we might find our match. Now it seems that their Gerbig line ends pretty abruptly. What we would have to do there is replicate the tree or just go through some searches. That's a topic for another video. Either way, it is a lead for us, so I'm going to mark that on the sheet. So last thing, we just need a link to his profile. Okay, so that takes you off. So here we've got our first one for Munster, so I'm going to put Munster Ireland. Okay. So she's got a link tree, but it's private, so there isn't much we can do there. Potentially reach out to her. 31,000 people in a tree. That's amazing. Okay. And I've also noticed here that she's got a Danaher line, and so do we. And that's quite a rare name, even by Irish standards. Obviously, she's in the Irish community, so the fact that she has the same name, same community, and is a fairly close match, does lead me to believe that that's probably the line that they fit into, Danaher. But we'll leave that for now. Okay, so that releases Susan. I can also see another hint here, which is that a third cousin that is placed in our tree, and we have the through line for it, and their common relation is Ellen Danaher, which is the name we saw under Susan Whalen. And this Anthony Lillicrap is also part of the same community, and he matches with both of them. So I'd say that's probably a good lead that he is a Danaher as well. However, he doesn't have a tree, so I would need to contact him. If he did have a tree, then it would be very, very easy indeed. I can take that one step further. I can see we've got a Susan Whalen, and we've also got a Thomas Whalen, so always keep an eye out for matching surnames. If I was to click on Thomas Whalen, he also has a Danaher line as well. And he's also part of the Irish community, and he also has my Danaher third cousin in there as well. So it's starting to come together now. We've got 3 people within this cluster who are potentially Danahers, and many, many more who are definitely Irish. If I was to go back to the list, I could do something like this. I could select my sorting group, and I could also do a location search for Limerick Island. Yeah, so already we've got 5. Obviously I've taken a few out, maybe slightly prematurely, but it's definitely looking good. Try and go for a specific village that the Dana has lived in. Nothing. Oh, that right there. So 5 matches for Charleville, which is where the Danahers were based. So that more or less confirms to me that that's what this cluster is. It's a Danaher cluster from their home. We can see we've got another one here. Danaher. Yep, based in Limerick. Well, that's convinced me. So I'm now going to put that as a note on here. Let's just put it in the first box. So I'm now going to just take some time to fill out the rest of these entries, again, which will finish painting out the picture. For Susan Whalen, I'm going to put Danaher line. And I'm going to make a note of every time I see the name Danaher appearing in that cluster. Also do that as part of the surname search, I guess, as well. So if we said Danaher and it's many spellings. Okay, we've got 2, which we've seen already. Okay, that's that cluster done. So now as new people join Ancestry, or as I start going below the 20 centimorgan mark, I'll continue to add to this cluster. I just can't see them from where I am with the sorting method, but I can see them if I check each individual profile. So once I've clustered all of the people between the 120 mark, then I'll be going through the individual profiles below 20 to try and find more people to add into these clusters. But that's that cluster done. Didn't get any immediate answers, but as I said, we've got some pretty good hints. The fact that there's 3 people with Danaher in the line, 2 people with Gerbig. The fact that it's predominantly Irish. Obviously, I can sort those down, so if I just wanted to narrow it to, say, just that cluster and just the Irish and just the people who have trees, or trees that I can access. Okay. So I can go through each of those profiles, try and work out what the commonalities are, the same surnames, the same city names, even repeated first names or middle names that are a bit unusual. And that will give me a good idea of where to go. But I'm pretty sure those are Danahers. So now I'll go to another cluster. And obviously with that one, the sorting category is now empty again. So it's just a case of going back to the DNA list. And who's the next furthest person down? You can see a lot of these people have now fallen into categories. Who's the next person down that hasn't been categorized? Well, that would be this guy, right? Nothing there. Okay, he doesn't have anyone, so I'm not going to put him into a cluster. But for these people who don't have any shared matches, if they're above the 20 centimorgan mark, I'm still going to put them into a cluster of their very own. And the reason for that is that they'll have matches below the 20 mark. I just can't see them from here, but I will see them later on when I check their profiles. In you go. Okay, so he takes up that whole cluster just for himself. I'm going to just trim that down a little bit until we need the space. So let's go to cluster 3. That'll be Lauren Carroll. Okay, so she's got 2 matches that we can see. So again, we'll just put her in sorting. Most clusters are not 30 people big, by the way. They're usually around the 10. So that one took a lot longer than planned. But again, we'll just mark that sorting and sorting. Open them up in new tabs. Okay, we've got another one. So this is really starting to expand out. This one doesn't have any new people. However, it does cluster extremely strongly with a lot of people that I've placed in the Cree and Danaher lines. The fact that it matches both of them means that, again, we're looking at an Irish side. In fact, there we go, Munster again. However, this one doesn't seem to touch anyone else from that side. So I'm wondering if these are from two different descendants of the same pairing. So, for example, the husband's parents and then the mother's parents. So let's cluster them together. So that's a bit more typical. So there we got exactly 10 people. So again, I would just go through each of these. I'd find out what links them, put in their category information, put in their community information. Again, this seems like another one for the Irish. And so on. I just repeat the process until all of my matches between the 100 and the 20 centimorgan marks fill in all of these lovely blocks. You can see I've created 50 categories predetermined. I'll be filling each one of these in and building a map. So to time skip forwards a little bit, here's the one that I've made for Dad, and this is the one that's kind of had 2-ish years sunk into it basically. So you can see we've got a lot of people, and if I just scroll down, some of these have been placed, right? So I can see who their common ancestors are. I can see which lines of my family tree they fall into, and because I've had so many of the same placements within a cluster going to the same family, it's almost guaranteed that the people in this middle section here were going to fall into the same lines, because there's such a big difference between the centimorgans here. For example, these people have fallen into the Cree line, and I think the people who haven't fallen into the Cree line are probably going to fall into the Danaher line. They were a married couple. If I scroll down a little bit more, again, more of the same. I've got Easons and Randalls, people falling into those two. So I've got a good 7 people placed there, and again, anyone who falls into the gaps between them, if I haven't placed them, it's for reasons like this, right? They don't have a tree. I have no idea where they fall. Or this one where they fall clustered, but their tree doesn't line up with what I know. I messaged them saying, I think you might possibly want to relook at your tree. But that's it really. So every cluster that I've got for Dad, that one especially, it does have pretty substantial commonalities running through them. For example, I can see the Burton family, east of England, appears quite often. They're a family from Norfolk. Here we've got our Goodwin side, again Norfolk, and anyone who doesn't fall in, it's because they don't have a tree, or they have a private tree, or they haven't put any information in their tree that gives me an indication of where they're from. But yeah, that's grouping and clustering, and it is a lot of work, and it does take a lot of time, but once you've done it, it makes everything so much simpler. You'll be able to look at new matches as they come in and basically know which part of your tree they'll fall into, and then you can look at their tree and find the link that way. So I hope you found that useful, and yeah, good luck. Thanks, and bye for now.